In the Torah portion that David Hoffman so beautifully chanted, it is immediately clear why this portion is read on Yom Kippur. We are all part of the covenant, not just the tribal heads, the elders and the officials, but even women and children, and even strangers in the community. Everyone, from wood choppers to water drawers. Who exactly were the wood choppers and water drawers? Commentators on this Torah portion are all pretty clear. This phrase refers to menial laborers, most likely resident aliens. The term has worked its way into literary English as hewers of wood and drawers of water. A nice way to say cheap labor. The commentary, the one used by most Reformed congregations, refers to these as lowly occupations. Why do biblical scholars think so? Well, the verse enumerates every type of resident, beginning with the highest levels of tribal heads and working its way down to the wood chopper and the water drawer. Since every other type of Israelite is accounted for, men, women, and children, it is assumed that this must refer to aliens. And since the term is from wood choppers to water drawers, it is believed by scholars to include washermen, gardeners, and straw collectors. These were jobs associated with wood chopper and water drawer in other ancient Near Eastern texts. Some say this specifically refers to gerim, or resident aliens. They are often included with widows and orphans, so we know, like them, gerim were vulnerable. They had few protections. Though we know how often the text also instructs us to ensure their equal treatment, because we were once aliens in Egypt. It is kind of remarkable when you think about it. Our covenant with God, our designation as a covenanted people, is extended to everyone, not just the upper classes, but the working class, even the working poor. When we think of a covenant, perhaps marriage comes to mind. Two people promise to love, support, and nurture each other. Such wording might even be incorporated into your ketubah, the Jewish marriage of covenant. Not unlike our covenant as a people with our God. Rabbi Amy Scheinerman writes, one of the chief benefits of that special relationship is that it helps to define us as a people who have connections with one another, because we are all party to the same covenant with God. In other words, it contributes to our communal self-understanding and encourages us to examine who we are in relation to God and who we ought to be. It reminds us that everyone in the community is a member of the covenant and important to God, and therefore they should be important to us. No one should be permitted to slip through the cracks. Our covenant with God helps us focus on our obligation to live as our tradition teaches, the way God wants us to live, generously, compassionately, and with concern for justice and the welfare of others. I am not so sure that wood chopping and water drawing were really such menial jobs. After all, to find wood or water in the desert was no easy task. Everyone needed wood for cooking and warmth, and no one can live without water. At first glance, we didn't take much notice of the hewer of wood or drawer of water. We might not have even known their names, but they were here all along, even if we did not or chose not to notice them. The women who come and clean our homes and care for our children. The small army of men who show up every couple of weeks to maintain our lawns. The people who we never see but cook our food in our favorite restaurants. the woman who takes our blood pressure at the doctor's office, the men who deliver our mail, the women who clean offices at night when no one sees them. And let's not forget the orderlies changing sheets in hospitals, workers stocking shelves and making deliveries, home health aides, security guards, garbage collectors. We now call them essential workers. They are essential to keeping us physically safe and emotionally sane. All of them put their own lives at risk to keep us cared for and protected. Most of these people are people of color, shades of black or brown, and many are from other countries. The pandemic has opened our eyes. Sometimes we saw them in our mind's eye. We wistfully saw the women who formerly cleaned our homes when we were lugging loads of laundry or running the vacuum. Through the safety of our windows, we saw the men mowing our grass, allowing us for a few moments to pretend that life was still normal. From our door, we spied the Amazon truck or the delivery person dropping off our packages from Nordstrom or J. Crew, lifelines to our former selves. We did this from the safety of our homes, while they, whose names we do not know, risked their lives so that we could have a warm pizza or a new pair of shoes delivered to our door. What are the names of our modern day hewers of wood and drawers of water? Ezzy Dominguez is a mother of two in Denver. For years, Ms. Dominguez, age 38, has worked as a nanny and cleaned houses around the city. After the start of the pandemic, the family she had been working for told her to stop coming, but did not offer to pay her. Her husband lost his jobs as a cook and a janitor around the same time, and could not collect unemployment benefits because he is an undocumented immigrant. Kenya Slaughter works at a Dollar General store. She says, "I've been working at Dollar General here for more than 2 years. My manager is wonderful, and I have a great relationship with my customers. But when I took this job, I never planned to become a worker on the front line of a pandemic." Christian Smalls is a 31-year-old father of 3. He lives in Newark and used to work at the Amazon Fulfillment Center on Staten Island until he was fired for speaking up. In an interview with the New York Times, he said, "They keep saying we're like the Red Cross. We're not. We're just regular people and we didn't sign up for this." And Wendy Reynolds is a food delivery driver in Indiana. She will tell you that her income has almost doubled during the pandemic. But much of that extra income goes to an Airbnb to pay for an apartment because she is afraid to live in her own home for fear of exposing her own family. And these are the fortunate ones. Kaylin Dillard of Baton Rouge worked for a transportation company as a driver for people with special needs. She died of the coronavirus on August 17th. She was 29 years old and leaves behind 2 young daughters. Tommy Cierci of Houston was a firefighter, just like his twin brother. Last year, he saved the life of a colleague while extinguishing a house fire. He too died on September 8th of the coronavirus, and he leaves behind his parents, 3 siblings, and 2 daughters. He was 45 years old. Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs describes the covenant in Deuteronomy as revolutionary. While covenants were frequently used in the ancient Near East, a covenant between God and a group of people was unheard of. Sachs writes, "It was unfathomable that a supreme power would make a treaty with any people on earth, let alone the supremely powerless. Ezzy Dominguez and Christian Smalls are certainly powerless." Sachs says this covenant is about being guided by the experience of history and about the acceptance of responsibility. Did we fulfill our responsibility to Kaylin Dillard or Tommy Siercy? Rabbi Sachs calls this covenant a turning point in Jewish history when we move from divine initiative to human responsibility. We become God's partners in the work of Tikkun Olam, repairing the world. This covenant is about relationships and how we are all connected to each other. Our relationships to our families and our friends, to our neighbors and our communities. Our relationships are the means by which we interact with others. Our Jewish tradition teaches us that each of us is created in the divine image. It has quickly become tradition here for the rabbis to quote Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Fittingly, she wrote, "Whatever you choose to do, leave tracks. That means don't just do for yourself, because in the end, that's not going to be fully satisfying. I think you will want to leave the world a little better from your having lived. And there's no satisfaction that a person can gain from just what people call turning over a buck that's equal to the satisfaction that you get from knowing that you have made another's life and your community a little better for your effort. Ezzy, Kenya, Christian, Wendy, make their lives a little better for your effort. And for the children of Kayleen and Tommy, make their world a little better because you were in it. May this be God's will.